All right, guys, welcome back to MMA Fight Pass podcast. Tonight we're here at Legends Tap House and Grill. It's formerly the Spike and Rail Steakhouse here in Selma. A lot of you guys know it from the Spike and Rail. Tonight we got a lot to go over. We got the 559 fights coming up this weekend. My guest, Jeremy Luchau, is joining us tonight. We're going to talk about the fights. First, let me thank our sponsors real quick. Fresno Own a Car in Fresno. If you want looking to get a used car or a new car, you want a good deal, they're right there for you. We got Glepler Digital Media for all your internet marketing needs. And then, of course, Legends Tap House and Grill. We're here now. It's a new spot. If you like good beer, they got a whole wide variety of beers on tap right there. Or if you want to get some good food, they got good food. So, Jeremy, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure.
Yeah, once again, Jeremy is a good friend of ours, and Jeremy's been around the MMA scene since I can remember me being around it. He's been around for quite some time. How's everything going, man? How's life?
Good. Life is good, man. It's exciting times right now for the Valley. A lot of awesome stuff going on. A lot of great MMA in the Valley. A lot of great jiu-jitsu. A lot of kickboxing tournaments. It seems like MMA is really starting to pick back up again. Slowly but surely. It's pretty exciting times.
It is very exciting, man, and I'm glad to know you and really proud of what you've been doing, because there's not a lot of guys that really step up and promote a sport like this and have stayed involved with it as long as you have, and you also help out a lot of these fighters, and so your show, the 559 Fights, it's an outlet for all these kids that are wanting to get into MMA, and man, you've really been helping out with that.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, that was obviously one of the goals when Joey and John and I first sat down and kind of created and brainstormed 559 Fights. Was we wanted a spot for guys to come and grow their craft and get better at MMA, so that they could go on to the Tachi Palaces and the Pure Combats and up in Porterville and these local shows and be more prepared and better equipped to compete at that level.
It's definitely getting guys prepared, and one thing I just want to start with right off the bat is because I see what you're doing for these kids, and it's just like in jiu-jitsu tournaments, guys. When we started wanting to compete, we'd have to travel around, and it was difficult. If you wanted to get good in jiu-jitsu and you wanted to get to a high level, you had to get to these tournaments, and that was how you got the experience. And man, in jiu-jitsu, you got to pay money to get into one of these tournaments and get the experience. You're offering the experience for these guys to get here, and what I hear sometimes from some of these younger fighters and coaches is, well, they're not getting paid, and Jeremy's making money, or these amateur guys are making money.
Right.
You guys don't realize how good you got it, man. You got a show right here in our backyard.
Right.
And you're giving them an outlet, man. Talk about that a little bit.
Right. I mean, we're all in business to make money. So
yeah, definitely.
Obviously, I can't say that that's not an aspect of this, but if I wanted to make real money, I certainly wouldn't be doing amateur MMA. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
There's a lot of costs and a lot of hard work and headache that goes into it, and really, I continue to do it because I actually love the sport and I love my community. You know what I mean? I love being able to bring events to different cities. I love being able to expose different cities and different communities and people to our sport and help grow the sport. I mean, I guess there's always going to be people and naysayers and stuff like that. It doesn't get under my skin, because a lot of times I don't think people are educated enough to understand the back end of like what's going on. You know what I mean? The costs that are involved and stuff like that. And for the most part, people that are involved in the sport and people that have been around 559 Fights, they're all pretty receptive of what's going on and thankful. You know what I mean? I probably pay for, I don't know, 30, 40 athletes a year for their licenses and registration fees and their blood works and physicals and things like that. For the longest time, I was the only promotion in the state that was offering gloves and shin guards, so that fighters didn't have to spend extra money for gloves and shin guards. I mean, could I be doing more? Sure. You know what I mean? I think we could always be doing more and getting better, but I think, all those comments do is just drive me to continue to do better.
That's the best thing you can do, man.
Yeah.
Use that to build the fire. One thing I've noticed that's evolved with your show, and man, I really appreciate it coming from a jiu-jitsu and tournament background, is you've added in the grappling matches to your show.
Yeah, I think in years past, grappling was used as a filler, right? Like this fight fell out, so we're gonna add this grappling match, or let this guy grapple and try to find someone last minute. And it was never really like showcased as part of the show. More of it was like it was a Band-Aid, you know what I mean? And it wasn't until Mike Moreno came to me and he was like, hey man, I had this idea. There's really not a lot of grappling going on in our area. And originally he wanted to do separate shows. And I was like, man, like we have such a big following with 5 fights. Don't you feel like it might be better if we did 4 or 5 grappling matches per event, but did it with the 5 fights? That way MMA fans could start to be exposed to grappling, and grappling fans could start to be exposed to MMA. You know what I mean? So mixing them both together, but showcasing them both. So this was our first year of doing it. We had 3 to 4 to 5, sometimes 6 grappling matches and wrestling matches per event that we did this last year. We did, I think, 9. We're gonna finish with 9 shows, I believe. And it went pretty well. And I think me and Mike and Antoine, we're gonna sit down. We're gonna evaluate how the year went after this next event, and we've already kind of come up with some new and different ideas to elevate what we did this year to the next level. Whether it be having some belts in some weight classes, doing some unique things like some dojo versus dojo type stuff. We have a bunch of different ideas where I think the grapplers proved themselves in such a way on our events, and our fans were so receptive to that we're going to market and publicize and push the grappling side of it to another level. And I think that it only helps. I know we just had the big jiu-jitsu tournament, you know what I mean, come into town, Fight to Win. They do a great job. And then I know in February, another big tournament's coming into Fresno. Yep. So I feel like, despite there being some schools that are like, no, we don't want to do the 5 fight stuff, but some other schools have kind of bought into it, I think that, it's just another way to prepare people for those bigger events, right? You know what I mean?
Most definitely.
So we'll make some changes, and we're open to any coaches reaching out to us and saying, hey, what about this rule set? Or, hey, we like these ideas. I mean, I've been forever growing and forever changing ever since I started doing MMA, 15 years ago, roughly now. So really excited about the jiu-jitsu stuff and how it's growing, and how we're able to tie it in with 5 fights. And I haven't got a lot of, sure, there's some negative feedback about the fights sometimes, and there's some negative feedback about the jiu-jitsu stuff, but overwhelmingly everything's been super positive, man. Everyone seems to like it.
Definitely, man. And if there's some negative feedback, that's a small amount of people, because when I'm at the show, every time we go to the show, hey man, people, they dig it, and I really appreciate it. And I know these coaches and the crowd, even they may not understand jiu-jitsu, but they're pretty stoked out there. It looks like people enjoy it.
I think they're learning, right?
Yep, they're definitely learning.
I think you're starting to see some excitement in certain positions where they know something is about to happen now after watching some of the stuff from our events. And hopefully some of the 5 fight fans that have gone and they've kind of bought into the grappling scene, hopefully they're buying tickets for Fight to Win and some of these other shows. I would highly encourage them to go to and be a part of. I think, again, we just want to continue to grow the sport in all aspects, and then help those guys move on to bigger and better things.
That's awesome, brother. Well, we got another one coming up this weekend. It's Saturday the 14th, correct?
Yes.
At the Fresno Rainbow Ballroom, guys. And it's another chance. This one's going to be real good. The fight card is awesome. Talk about our show this weekend, brother. Let it be known.
It's been a long time. We haven't had historically heavyweights is like everyone's division, right? Everyone loves to see the heavyweights, and we haven't really had a heavyweight champion, and I want to say over a year, maybe longer, year or two, and we haven't really had a cruiserweight champion in over a year. So, we have a heavyweight title fight. Larry Gonzalez, who I think is probably one of the more deserving guys in our sport right now. He reached that 3-0 mark, kind of qualified and solidified his spot as a contender for a title fight. He's going to be fighting Danny Moreno, and then in the main event, and in the co-main event, Jason Fonzie, who has been one of those veteran guys who's been to our events before, fought for a title for us, and he's gone on, won titles in other organizations. He's one of those guys that's like right on the cusp of ready to being able to fight professionally. He's going to fight for the welterweight strap against Tristan Hatfield out of Bakersfield. He's at Cody's son's gym. Cody's gym is like one of those gyms that he's always maintained and stayed pretty loyal to 559 Fights, and their fighters have always done a really good job of coming up and competing. So for me, it's a pretty awesome experience for Cody again to get another chance at getting one of his guys a title. So I'm really, really excited about the main event, co-main event. I think it's awesome for the Valley because they like the big boys, you know what I mean? So the big boys get to get in there and scrap. And then, we have guys returning after long layoffs. You'll see Jared Velasquez will be on here in a little bit. He's a guy that's been coming back after a long layoff. People are excited to see him fight, and Mark Felix, another guy coming off another long layoff that people are excited to see. So we're really pumped for this card. I believe we have 12 MMA fights and 4 grappling fights as of right now. Knock on wood, because it's fight week. Right. And it's about that time for people to start falling apart. But
yes,
it looks good so far. Everyone's got their medicals in, and everything's looking awesome.
Does that happen a lot, Jeremy, where you'll get right down to the last week and you get a lot of people dropping out?
I mean, historically, the week of the fight is
that's the time?
Yeah, is the time for guys to really kind of say, hey, for whatever reason, it's like, oh, hey, I'm fighting this week. And either, I feel like, one of two things happen in these situations where you have injuries on fight week. Either the injury is not an injury, right, and it's just an excuse to get out of competing for that week, or B, it's a real injury, but the injury is happening because all of a sudden they're doing crash course, right? Like, I haven't trained properly, and now I'm going to really go at it really hard this week and prepare for my fight, and then they get injured, right? Because now they're cramming a bunch of stuff that they haven't been doing, their responsibilities for the last 5-6 weeks into like a 1 week cram session, and they get hurt. So those are usually the two things that happen on fight week. But we've done Antoine and Mike have done a tremendous job this year. Keeping fights together and filling fights, and I think we got some new things we're going to unveil next year that's going to incentivize guys to get their medicals done earlier, to get in there and be ready to fight and stuff like that. So next year is going to be another improvement on things that we've done.
Now with these amateur fighters, I know you watch these guys and you see them build up, and I'm sure there's certain ones that you see that you go, hey man, this guy, I think he can make it. Don't you have a company of your own where you help these fighters go along? Do you still do that?
Yeah. So I'm a partner at Iridium Sports Agency, one of the larger sports agencies in mixed martial arts world.
Iridium?
Iridium. Yeah. It's been a blessing to be around the Valley and be able to see guys, and then a lot of these guys may have never had the opportunity to be a part of an agency like Iridium, had I not been in the Valley and been able to say, hey man, like, a guy like Alex Perez would have never got noticed. You know what I mean? Like I don't know that he makes a connection with Colin Oyama or someone like that. You know what I mean? And Ian McCall back when Ian was fighting. Not to say that Alex wouldn't have made it without Iridium. I mean, he very well could have. But, just to be able to have an agency like ours and have someone here locally that's constantly watching fights, and has their pulse on the Valley MMA, you know what I mean? Like, you get a lot of shows that come into the area, and 9 times out of 10, I'm like the first call from matchmakers, of whether it be LFA or combates or whatever it is, and they're asking which kids to use, who sells tickets, who does this, who that. And since most of these guys, 90% of them have gone through the proving grounds of 559 fights,
yep.
or I've worked with them, managing them, it's easier for me to help get those guys the opportunities that they deserve, that they've worked hard for, that their coaches have worked hard for, that they've all put, these blood, sweat, and tears in for, that normally maybe it might have been overlooked if I wasn't in the right position at the right time in order to kind of help people get to that, you know what I mean?
Definitely, man. So there's a lot there's a lot of young guys out there that'll, they follow us, and there's guys that they're in jiu-jitsu right now, but their aspect is to get in, the future. They want to get into MMA. What can you tell these young guys? Like, if you're serious and you want to try this out, like, what do you recommend a young guy does to get in there?
I think the main thing you got to do is the stuff outside of the cage. I think now more than ever, with as difficult as it is to promote events and things of that nature, the things that are outside of the cage, promoters are taking a really hard look at. I've had a lot of promoters of late really just be like, yeah, that guy sells 100 tickets, but I don't want to work with him because it took him until the 11th hour to do his medicals, you know what I mean? Or, they rather work with a guy that can't sell a lick of tickets but is respectful and going to be at weigh-ins on time and make weight and things like that. I really think just being a good person outside of the cage, meeting deadlines, making weight, just being a man of your word, which seems to be a very difficult thing in this generation, right?
It is a very difficult thing these days.
I think
punctuality.
I think for promoters, these are guys that are putting lots of money on the line for these events to happen. I think they're more adept to wanting to use those types of athletes now. So I think getting your P's and Q's in order and being able to, hey, my license is up to date at all times. You know what I mean? I don't miss weight. I show up to things on time, whether it be a media obligation, whether it be a weigh-ins, things like that. Just being able to be like a good employee, basically. You know what I mean? I think that goes a lot further than what people think. It's not all about what you can do in the cage anymore. You know what I mean? It's not 10 years ago where there wasn't as many fighters. There's thousands and thousands of fighters now, and all these guys want opportunities, and now it's like, okay, well, I got 2 guys that can sell tickets and 2 guys that are exciting. Well, what's that third thing? Okay, well, it's fighter A making weight, fighter B makes weight all the time. Well, I'm gonna go with fighter B. Those are the guys that are kind of getting those opportunities nowadays.
That's good. You got to look at all that. Listen to that. Like you said, man, nowadays it's somebody showing up on time or just being punctual about anything is kind of becoming a rare thing.
Right.
So when these guys, like after they get into your show and they've been doing it for a while, what do you recommend? Like, how many fights should one of these guys do amateur before they even think about it? Is there a number?
I love that question. Like, everyone thinks there's a magical number, and there's not, though. There's not a magical number. I think each fighter rises and falls at the beat of their own drum. I've seen guys fight 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, man, this guy does. And I've told him, hey, you don't need any more amateur fights. And it's time for you to go pro. And I've seen guys fight over 10 fights, and I'm like, man, you need 2 more years of amateur fights.
So saying that, what do you see in a guy? Like, you get a dude up there and he goes in there, just for example, like a guy like Joe Soto or Alex Perez. Right. What is it that you see that you notice that tells you right there, hey, you know what, this dude, he's got what it takes.
It's funny you mentioned Joe Soto because, I was a sports reporter for the HammerFist Sentinel back in the early 2000s, and I covered Joe Soto coming up through high school during that time as a wrestler. And I remember Christian Printup and I, when I first started working with them, and I was still a reporter though, and he was at Tachi, and I remember I was going to a fight in Porterville, and it was Joe Soto's debut. And I said, Joe Soto's fighting? And he was just like, yeah. And I said, sign this kid. And he was like, what do you mean? And I was like, trust me. And then we watched the first half of the fight, and he was like, oh yeah, we're signing that kid. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you could tell, like, there's certain guys that kind of have the it factor, you know what I mean? their finisher. You know what I mean? Their technique is really, really good. You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I mean, it's you know, there's no right or wrong answer. You know what I mean? It's not black and white. There's a lot of things that you look for and try to pinpoint during someone's career to see if they're ready for the next step up. You know what I mean? Whatever that may be, whether it's from a local promotion to the UFC or whether it's from 559 Fights to Combates. You know what I mean? Whatever the case may be.
That's awesome, man. Well, you've definitely played a good part in that. Well, how can people get tickets for this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we have an amazing website, 559fights.com. Pretty much has all of our information on there. You can download our mobile app for any of your cellular devices. Just look up 559 Fights. We do a lot of giveaways on there, a lot of stuff like that. All the information's on our mobile app. You can reach us on all of our social media platforms. Instagram's at 559 Fights, Twitter's at 559 Fights, Facebook 559 Fights.
Are the fighters selling any tickets?
Yeah, all the fighters always selling tickets. You know, number one question everyone always asks is like, how much does this fighter make? Amateurs are not allowed to get paid. It's a rule through the state of California, but they're allowed to receive percentages of sales through selling of tickets.
Hey,
so that's how how they're compensated. You know what I mean? So.
I like that.
Yeah, you can find your favorite fighter or a fighter in your area. They can sell you some tickets, and tickets are always available at the door. Doors open at 6:00. First fight's at 7. Rainbow Ballroom's an awesome place. Very intimate location. A fun place to have fights. Cold beer, great tacos. Right afterwards, the hot dog man's outside. You can get you a hot dog.
The bacon wrapped hot dog.
Yeah, you know, it's awesome. You know, we've had nothing but great fights there at the Rainbow Ballroom. Love that place. It's a great location. I know everyone always is like really pumped for Visalia Convention Center shows. You know what I mean? Because it's so big and the lights and everything. But I really like the Rainbow Ballroom shows because that's the kind of like everyone's up close. There's no bad seats. You know what I mean? You could hear the yelling from the back, the mom yelling from the very back row at her kid fighting and stuff. So.
Yes, that's awesome. Plus, the Rainbow Ballroom, man, has a ton of history, and there's just a good vibe up in that place.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, man, I know you're a busy man, and you got a ton of stuff to do this week. Thanks for coming on and giving us some info. Dude, you're always welcome on our show, and man, like I said, I got a ton of respect for Jeremy because most promoters have never been inside that cage, but a lot of people don't know about Jeremy. When I first met Jeremy and knew about him, he was just like you said, he was a reporter around the WEC. And I never would have expected this guy to jump in that cage. And, man, somewhere along the line, you jumped in that cage, dude. So I got a ton of respect for you because, when you get in that cage, you have a whole different perspective of what this sport is. So,
I got my ass whooped.
Get in your ass. I've got my ass whooped. Getting your ass whooped sometimes is what changes your life around.
That's what I tell everyone. I experienced the highs and the lows of
you experienced the most important part of it.
The weight cuts and having to wait for a weigh-in. Yeah. I know everything that you guys. There's nothing you guys are going to tell me that I didn't go through. Thanks to Christian and his wild idea of having me do that project. But
yes. Props to Christian Prentice, man.
Thanks for mentioning that. But I mean,
I think it's important, man. Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, and I'm not one of those people that's always believed like you got to be good at something to teach it, or you got to be good at something to put it on. You know what I mean? But those experiences definitely let me kind of tailor a lot of the things that I do to be more comfortable fight experience for fighters. You know, one of the main things that I always look at when I visit a venue is like locker rooms, you know what I mean, or dressing rooms, or how long the walk is going to be, or where the ambulance is going to set up, and how quickly they get to the cage in case somebody's hurt. You know, a lot of those things kind of go into play for me, and I've said no to a lot of venues because they weren't going to be very venue friendly to fighters, or I had to get away from doing some deals with some different venues that were good deals for 5 fights, but they were tough on fighters, man. The fighters didn't like them and voiced their concerns, or it was something that I just didn't feel was good for them, so kind of got out of it. So I don't think I would have appreciated that, some of those things, if had I not experienced my experiences in the cage, because it was awesome. Like I fought at Tajik Palace Fights, which was like one of the top promotions in the country, at one of the best venues in the country, and I was treated top notch. You know what I mean? I love it. And then I also fought at Gladiator Challenge, in Tulare with no locker rooms, and a 5-hour weigh-in,
the 3x3 mat in the back with dirt on it,
and it was a good for me to experience both.
Yeah, heck yeah.
You know what I mean? And I tell a lot of the guys that I manage even today, like man, like you need to go experience fighting for a couple $100. You know what I mean?
300 to win, 100 to lose
in the desert. You know what I mean? So that when you go to some of these medium cards, you kind of respect them a little bit better. You know what I mean? And
most definitely
kind of earn your chops a little bit, right?
Yep. Well, Jeremy, man, once again, thank you very, very much. We're going to be at the show to support you, as always, and support these young fighters. And, man, you guys, if you want to see some good MMA action in the Valley, it's growing tremendously. Come and check it out this weekend. Fresno Rainbow Ballroom. Okay, what time does it start again?
Doors at 6, first fight's at 7.
There you have it, guys. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy.
You, sir.
Hey, have a good night. All right, my brother?
I appreciate it.
All right, guys. The plot thickens. All right. Okay. So, once again, guys, Jeremy Luchal, he's been, I can't say enough good things about him. He's been around the game for some time. And our next guest tonight, Jared Velasquez. Nice to meet you, my brother. This is my first time meeting Jared Velasquez, and I thank you for coming on to the show. You're fighting this weekend, right, in 559 Fights?
That's right.
Now you, is this microphone good, brother? Okay. So, you're no stranger to the ring. You've been in there before. You were telling me earlier, how many fights do you have?
I got 7 fights in MMA and a couple boxing matches. So
some boxing matches too.
Strangers, yeah.
Nice. So have you fought in 559 Fights before?
Yeah, I have. I think twice or 3 times.
And what other venues did you fight in?
I fought over in Stockton for the 209 beatdown, and another one in Santa Clara. It was, I can't remember that one. I think it was an expo or something, but I definitely enjoy 559.
The 209 beatdown. That sounds cool. All right, guys. So yes. All right. So we have the rest of our guests that are coming in, guys. You guys are going to be in here between me and my man right here.
Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. I'm late all the time. So yeah, we're live, and you know what? Things happen, especially the fog and everything. And plus, guys, we're at this. Man, I can't say enough about this. Our sponsor here. Okay, we're at Legends Tap House and Grill. Just to remind you. Okay, so Karina Herrera, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay, come on in here and get in here. What's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
What's your name?
Jonathan?
John, are you joining us too?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Tom Owens. John, come on in here. Okay, so we're gonna have Mark in here too.
Okay.
All right. Can you still hear me pretty good?
Yep.
All right, guys. So we got a good little group here now. So we got Jared Velasquez, Karina Herrera. Sure I don't butcher your name. And what was your name again, sir?
Jonathan Moskowitz.
Moskowitz? You said it right?
Yes.
Hey, guys, thanks for joining us. We got one more coming here. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Pretty good.
Good to see you, man. Scoot on down there a little bit, guys. And we got my friend here and old training partner, Mark Felix. Now, do you guys, you three train together?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jared, do you know these guys?
Yeah.
Okay, but you two are, Mark and Jared, you're both fighting this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're fighting.
Okay, so I want to continue with you, Jared. You were boxing and doing MMA. Now, is this something? I know you played football when you were younger.
Yeah, I played football in Orange Cove. played football at Reedley College.
Are you born and raised in this area?
Yeah.
You are from the area?
Mhm.
How about you guys? Are you guys all from the area?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
And Mark, were you from Farmersville? That's where I met
Nah,
you.
I'm from Lindsay, Alton.
You're from Lindsay?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you guys thinking, man? You got this, the fight this week. I know both of you guys have been in there already. Are you training with this guy?
Yeah. One
Yeah?
kicks. Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, with crew.
With crew.
Okay.
Okay, so is
Yes.
crew helping you guys out with the
Yes,
striking?
always with the Muay Thai.
Striking's on point. I
And
think
then Halo.
yeah.
Okay, so you're with Halo too. And Javier, where do you train at?
Oh, Jared.
Jared.
yeah.
Hey, got a lot of
It's all
names on my
good.
mind.
It's
It's been a
all
long
good.
week.
Don't worry about it.
Where do you
But,
train at, my brother?
I train out of 7th generation jiu-jitsu and with Fred's gym. He's a boxing coach out in Fresno.
In Fresno?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys all train together. Who are you fighting this weekend, Mark?
Fighting this guy. I can't even pronounce his name, to be
I
honest.
thought I was the one bad with names.
Yeah, I can't. I really can't even pronounce his names.
Murder his
Something
name, dude.
Thong, something cubic thong. I don't know.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
But yeah,
Yeah, we're not trying to disrespect anybody.
No,
or anything
I
like
just
that.
really can't pronounce his name.
Now, you've how many fights do you have?
I have total of 6 fights.
6 fights, and these are amateur fights that we're going to this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Have you fought in 559 fights
Yeah,
before?
and I fought Tachi also.
And you fought at Tachi
Mm-hmm.
also. What is the? It's been some time since you've been in the ring, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
also, Jared, it's been a little while since you've been in there. A year, you were saying.
Yeah.
When you guys are off and you're taking that time off, did you stick to the training or did you take a little break?
Yeah, you tried. I mean, things get in the way sometimes, but at the end of the day, you try to get in work as much as you can. But personal issues, other things get in the way. It makes it kind of hard to get training. But
And Jared, when you took the time off, kind of the same deal. Did you stick to the training? You have issues
a little
going
bit. I mean, you gotta handle life, but try to stick to it. And actually, I was working security guard when they were fighting at the Rainbow Ballroom couple months ago, and I seen it, and I was just got that itch, And I wanna get back
Dude,
into
that'll do it.
Yeah.
I was at the Fight to Win Jiu-Jitsu this weekend. Did you guys see that?
One
You
of my
guys
buddies
heard about it?
I didn't get to see it, but
Are you guys into Jiu-Jitsu, like sport Jiu-Jitsu and stuff?
more now that I've
Yeah.
gotten into that gym.
Yeah, it was really something else, man. Seeing those guys go out there. What was your Jared? What was your first art that you got into, like as far as combat?
Boxing.
Boxing. So
boxing.
you told me you boxed in competition.
Yeah, I got a couple fights under my belt, and it's great to see boxing by itself, and then you see jiu-jitsu by itself, and it's just like
You blend
another
together.
level, and then you take it together, and I think it's helped a lot.
So all of you guys, the same. I ask all of you guys the same question. Well, sir, do you fight as well?
Yeah.
Are you fighting this weekend too?
I'm not fighting.
welterweight champ right here.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Are you really?
Yeah.
For what?
Fights welterweight champ.
Oh, wow.
559. Yeah.
The champ right here.
New one.
I should have known that already. All you guys, I want to ask the same question because for me, I did martial arts, pretty much my whole life, like karate and all these different styles. But when I saw the first UFC and I saw Hoist Gracie, I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was. I had never seen it before, and I seen Hoist Gracie in there, and that's what sparked me like a real interest in like getting serious about like a real type of a fight training. And at what point, I want to ask each one of you, what did you see? Maybe it was a fight or whatever, where you go, you know what? I want to do that. I want to get inside that cage. What did you see? Just something simple.
I never thought I was gonna do that. Like in high school, I was never into all that. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I used to fight. I used to like to fight. Like in general, like after school, there used to always be like little groups. People would go and fight. We actually had alleys that would go and fight. I showed you, huh? The alleys used to go like everybody would go over there. There'd be fights. Eventually, teachers caught on. I actually started like a little fight thing in my backyard. Took 2 days to build a mat. I
Like
duct
Kimbo
tape.
Slice type
Like
deal?
something like that. But
Bare knuckle?
nah, I had little rules and everything above the ring and everything. But anybody that had problems at school was like, come to my house, and I loved it. But I was always scrapping, throwing blows at anybody. I was
So
always
where were you at when you said, when you really said, you know what, I'm gonna start training and I'm gonna get into the cage?
It wasn't really even my idea. It was the people around me were like, dude, you should try it. Dude, you should try it. You'd be good for it. You should try it. Dude, he's like, dude, do it. I was like, nah. And after I was like, screw it, I'll try it. And then I fought and I lost. And after that, I was like, dude, I cannot go out on a loss. So I was like, when I came back, I made sure I had to get a dub. Knocked him out. Ever since then, I've been knocking dudes out. Left and right. Boop, boop, boop. All
That's
finishes.
a good story. And you, my brother, what did you see, or what made you want to hop inside that cage?
Yeah, like Mark, I never thought I was gonna be fighting, but I had just finished my wrestling career in Oregon, and my buddy was like, "Hey, come check out this jiu-jitsu gym," and I started rolling, and I started to see that I enjoyed it, and before you know it, my buddy, his cousin is Ricky Simone. He's in the UFC, and he said, "Hey, come check out this gym," and then I just started training over there, and then moved back home and just kept on.
And you made that decision. And now Karina is one of our favorite female fighters from the area. You're from the area, right?
From Porterville.
You're from Porterville. Yeah, you're definitely one of our favorites. I mean, we're always like stoked when I am anyways, when I see females like jumping in there. I honestly, it wasn't something that I saw growing up with women that I knew. But at what point, or what did you see that made you want to take that step into that cage?
Well, I fought right after high school, and I never fought in high school before, and I wasn't really like into it, but I'm an athlete. I play softball, and it just seemed interesting, like a one-on-one sport, and I gave it a shot, and my first fight ended in 18 seconds, and after that I just was like addicted.
That was it right there?
Yes, that was it.
And Jared, what about you, man? I know you started in the boxing. That probably gave you an itch to compete. Was there anything you saw on TV or a certain fight, like a UFC or anything, that made you want to hop in there?
Seen Velasquez versus Nogueira, that fight early
Classic
on, and
history.
Like, that's like must be my primo or something, you know, or something, you know. But besides that, I played sports, and I was like, I need to do something, you know, because that ended. And, you know, you gotta keep yourself active.
You think the football definitely is a pretty tough sport? Did that playing football help a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I was just like, I love, like, you know, causing damage, you know. Yeah, it's a lot of fun doing that, and then you see, like, it's real, like, you know, MMA is like all around fighting and stuff, and then
Definitely getting some contact.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So, Karina, did you fight? Did you do the amateur fights before you made it pro?
No, I went straight pro.
You went straight to pro?
Yeah, but when I started, it wasn't really like a big thing, like for girls especially too. So the competition wasn't really that high at that time.
And what
I still
show?
did grudge matches. Eagle Mountain?
Eagle Mountain. So back then when I fought at Eagle Mountain, it was Gladiator Challenge, but what was it?
Yeah, I think it was Gladiator Challenge.
Did you fight in Gladiator Challenge?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, Gladiator Challenge. That's old school right there. I don't even know if they're still doing their thing. But that's a
think
trip
so.
fighting up there though, up in the casino. Have you guys been up there, fought up at the casinos?
I have not. No.
What about Lemoore? Did you guys-
Tachi.
Just
Yeah.
Tachi?
Yeah.
But was that on out there in Lemoore?
Yeah.
Tachi?
Yeah,
They're not. They don't do it anymore though, right?
they haven't.
Nah, last one was against Matt
Hopefully they
Reed.
get back in there. So how many pro fights do you have, Karina?
10.
10 fights,
10
huh?
fights, I know.
Good lord.
That's what I say. 10 already.
Do
If
you,
I quit.
You've obviously trained in several gyms around here, right? Do you have a main place that you train, or do you just still go all around?
Right now I'm kind of based trifecta with Mo
Okay, good.
and Crew One Kicks, and then I do a lot of Halo. Steven, he has a class that he has at 10 a.m. like MMA class that I try to attend a lot. So those are like my 3 main places right now.
Yeah,
And then
I will,
Eloy, also I'm sorry,
Oh, that's okay.
Guards of Boxing, he does my privates, and I go there too. But everything's like,
he's really good.
yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I hear
He's
about
good on the mats, and then he's good like just building you up too, like mentally getting you ready.
And how good
He's
is
awesome guy.
I've known Crew since we were kids. He's always been around. He was always a traditional martial artist, and he just kept on going, and ended up liking Muay Thai probably more than the other. But he seems like he's becoming a really good coach. So I've
he's a
seen
good
Crew in a lot of
coach.
different
Yeah.
corners.
Well, from Porterville to Visalia is like a 40-minute drive, and he moved to Fresno, and I still follow
Right.
him that far because I do believe in like his coaching, and I love his training. It's really intense, and
Yeah,
you don't really
Cre-
find it too many places like that high.
No, and like I said, I grew up with that guy. He's He's real serious about martial arts.
He is.
Yeah, he's going to be one of our nominated guys for the MMA award show that we're going
And
to be
he's
having
real
this
serious
year.
about his fighters too.
Yep, takes good care, and I see him backstage. He looks real calm. And
If you put in the work, he puts the work into you too.
That's sweet. And Jared, what gym do you train out of again?
7th generation jiu-jitsu. It's in Fresno.
No, that's in Fresno. Who's the main sensei?
It would be.
I think there's several.
Yeah, there's a couple out there, but.
Are they doing MMA in there too, or what?
Huh?
They do MMA, a lot of MMA?
Yeah, they do some MMA, and they work close with this gym at kickboxing, and they actually have the heavyweight champ train out of there.
And who's that?
State, yeah. Kel Melton.
Oh, Kel, yeah. Kel competed this weekend at the Fight to Win.
Yeah.
I like that guy a lot. He's a super cool individual right there. And what about you, man? When I met this guy, it was in one of my favorite places. It's a small gym that most people don't know about, but the owners are super good people. Danny Valadinos and Juan Pato Jimenez and these guys.
Yeah.
It's Farmersville, California. It's Team KO, and it's just a small little hole in the wall gym. But that's where I met you, right?
Yeah, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude. Hey, man. And
really
that's some good
big,
roots
man.
right there, because that little gym, they've been around since I've been around doing this, and those owners have always had you guys back 110%. And the good thing about them too is they still have your back 100%, and they know they don't mind their guys going and training in other places if it's going to benefit their guy. A lot of gyms get butthurt, you know, coaches like, oh, my guy's going over there, this and that, and they get butthurt. But hey, Danny and them, they've always been, hey man, if it's going to benefit you, go do it. And believe me, when you fight this weekend, they're going to be behind you a lot. So was that the first MMA gym that you stepped into?
Yeah, I like that gym though, just because it was really gritty, like
super gritty,
so gritty. Like you'd go in there, people would get busted up, freaking bleeding noses, but that's what we liked. You know what I mean? Because it felt like we go in there, we literally train and just spar and spar and spar and spar. Like I always tell Karina, like people are from KO. They say that people from KO have heart, but that's just because they're fighters from the ground up. You know, they're gritty and they don't care. They'll go in there. They have a broken hand. They'll fight with a broken hand.
They go in there every Saturday, and like anybody's welcome to go over there. And every Saturday at around 12 p.m. noon to 1, they have the fighters training, and it's just like you just said. They go in there and with all respect, they'll hug and shake after, but they really are going at it, man. They really do it is gritty. It's not the prettiest place or maybe the most sanitary.
Nah, but it's definitely a place to get work, man.
It is a good place to get work, man, for the whole package. And a lot of respect to them. Where are you mainly training now?
Well, one kicks and I try to go trifecta, and I stuck with my boxing coaches from Farmersville actually. So I still go to Farmersville to get working.
Jose?
No, it's a guy named Nacho. I don't think you've met him, but he was there and he helped Martin a lot too. But but just going from KO to that was different. Like over here at One Kicks, it's all like you pace yourself. You're not going 100%. It's all technique. Like you have to see it. They want you to see punches coming, other than just getting hit freaking in the face, getting busted up. It's different. But my main places it's One Kicks, and I try to go to Trifecta for jiu-jitsu. But a lot of the Halo Jiu-Jitsu, so I get a lot of my grappling over there too as well. Yeah. And my boxing coach from Farmersville.
Good. Yeah, I really like what Trifecta is doing too. It's great. You know, Marianne Renault, right?
Yes.
I know her by Momo, but she's got the gym in Visalia right there, and she's building up a huge women's class. It looks like
huge.
Yeah,
huge, and a lot of them are belted. You know, so it's technical over there.
And she knows, because she made it to the UFC, so she's got to be a big help for you, right? How does that help you to be working with a UFC fighter?
It's definitely a confident booster, and then being able to go with a girl that's better than me, stronger than me.
Is she pretty tough?
Yeah, she's tough. She's tough on me. Not only does she help me like with like the physical part, also like the mental part, getting ready for it, because there's a lot that goes into it there too.
And she has a real good, she's got that teacher mentality.
Yeah, and the way she teaches really well too, like that, by step. She's real technical, but explosive too. She also runs a real tight ship over there. If you want, every gym's got their own style of teaching and everything. When I noticed when I went to Trifecta, if you're a new person that wants to get into jiu-jitsu, or you're a skilled competitor like Mark and these guys, you can get both of them, because I noticed with her beginners,
she makes it comfortable for a new person to go in there.
Yeah,
Right,
especially
like-
the females, because a lot of us
Yeah.
don't like
Even
starting
guys,
new gyms.
even guys too. Like men probably more than women are more intimidated to go into a gym.
Really?
I think so. Hey, me, I've been doing this stuff for 24 years. Hey, man, I'm not ashamed to say it. I still get intimidated when I'm going into it, even if it's people I know. But that's just me. But I know new people a lot. I always have people approach me like, man, like what? How do I go in there? Or can I go in there with you? I'm like, dude, most of these people are super cool. You just got to take that step to the door, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And what about you, my brother? You're a welterweight champion?
Yeah, with 559 fights. Yeah, I train mostly with at One Kicks with crew as well, and then I also train at a Tulare boxing gym with Richard Torres.
Oh wow, with Richard.
With Richard.
Props to Richard Torres, OG right there.
Yep, I'm with him, and then.
Boy, how's that working with that guy?
Oh, it's a lot of fun. His son, Richard Jr., he's
Yep.
back in town, and
He's something else too, isn't he?
yeah, it's great to be able to spar with him and just see how he trains. And I'm always asking them questions, about, what,
Yeah.
their boxing mind.
Oh yeah, that guy's like a computer, I imagine, with
Yes.
everything. So all of you guys, when you're getting ready for an MMA fight, like coming up this weekend, do you still do like a straight boxing class or straight jiu-jitsu classes, or are you guys like doing just MMA type of a class and blending it all together?
Like in general, or
Yeah, in general. I
Okay.
mean, like when I'd fight, I would still go to straight jiu-jitsu classes and do it. But as the fight got closer, I would try to just get like a mixed up, you know what I mean, a mixed up scene. Where do you spend most of your time when you're getting ready for a match?
I'd
Or what do
say
you feel is like what do you feel is the most important aspect that you work on?
when you're preparing for MMA fight, definitely MMA focus. So we're drilling everything together: the striking, the jiu-jitsu, and the wrestling. But I think it's also equally as important to make sure that you're getting those individual skills in as well.
And drilling? You do a lot of drilling?
Yeah, we do a lot of drilling with Steven. Yep.
That's cool, man. And Jared, what about you? This might be a question for all of you, but we're down to fight week, right? And I know there's a lot of mental preparation, maybe some weight cutting to do. What's your week going to be like leading up to this fight? Like,
Well, probably a little technical sparring, a little, drilling, just kind of getting that.
what about like weight?
competition.
Do you have to make any kind of cut weight or anything
Oh,
like
weight,
that?
a little bit of weight. I'm just like eating, pretty strictly healthy stuff.
So you don't have to cut too much?
Not too much.
That's good. That's a good idea. Karina, what about you? When you always look nice and ripped up when you fight. Do you have to cut a lot of weight, or do you
No,
cut any at all?
I don't have to really cut too much, just a few pounds of water.
That's good.
Because I stay, like when I'm getting ready for my camp, I stay eating clean.
Yeah.
I watch my calories, my carbs. Professional, just do it professionally. And
What kind of diet do you mainly do? Are you like you eat meat and vegetables, or?
yeah, I'll do like I do a lot of white rice, chicken, fish, but smaller portions for like a smaller person.
Yeah.
So I'll eat the same like all year long basically, but like when I'm cutting weight to 115s, I eat a smaller portion because I love healthy food. That's just the
Yeah.
way. Once you start getting into it and you eat
Yeah.
like that, your
Feels
body
good.
doesn't want to eat like lasagna and like big old heavy greasy meals because then you can't perform when you train. Even when you're just training just to train, it makes you feel real sluggish. So
Yep.
yeah, I try to eat healthy all year long, and then when it comes to weight cutting, I'll do protein, low carbs that week.
Now, what about?
A lot of water.
I always think it's like important, like visualization and meditation. Just coming, all the time. I like it, but especially like the last maybe 3-4 days of the fight. Do you guys incorporate anything like that? Like just getting alone and just closing your eyes and breathing, just kind of visualizing what's going to happen that night?
Yeah.
Do you guys would do stuff like that?
Yeah, I see it. I see it all the time. I always see I'm the first person, always, every time.
And what about if for me, I'd lay down at night and I would even train all day and be super tired, but I would when it came time to go into sleep, man, I'd lay in the bed and the wheels start turning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They start turning and all kinds of
Can't
different things
sleep.
can go through your head. It's a
Yeah.
pretty trippy thing. Did you say you're fighting this weekend too?
I'm not fighting this weekend.
Are you
no.
cornering anybody, or-
I'll be cornering Mark.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So what do you think about Mark's training?
Oh, I'm sure.
You been right there with him?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been with him this whole camp, but I do know Crew, and I know Karina's with him all the time, and I know his team, you know, is preparing him very well, and I know what that camp is like. You know, I've done it, and I know exactly what his game plan is for the fight, and I'm excited to be cornering him because I know he's going to do very well.
Yeah, I've always had high hopes for Mark when I met you back in the day. Like me and Jeremy were talking about it earlier. Some people you see him, or especially if you get to share the mat with him, you can just tell, like, man, this guy, he could do it if he was to put his mind to it. So that's super cool, man. Did you guys, when you were younger, like, would you have ever thought that you'd be doing this, mixed martial arts in a cage?
I didn't think this. My dad never thought this either. I think he messed up.
What about your guys' families? Did your family trip out, Jared?
Yeah, my
What about your parents?
Not
they go
so
to your
much.
fights?
More like my grandparents, because they're like old school. You know?
Have they ever went to your fights?
Not my grandparents.
But your parents,
Yeah,
though?
my parents.
And hey, are they tripping out or what?
Yeah, they're supportive and everything. They're just like, you know, they don't really understand the whole thing yet. You know, they're old school too, so it's like boxing is like.
Oh yeah.
And then once they start taking people down, they're like, what's going
But
on?
they're right there in the audience cheering for you, though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Well, guys, one of the things that we do on this show, and the reason that MMA Fight Pass we're here, is not only to support fighters like young fighters like you and all the martial arts, but what we're trying to do is we want to give a positive outlook to younger kids that are out there, and there's especially in the Central Valley, and I knew where I grew up, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this too. Man, there's not a lot of stuff to do as a youngster around here, and it's super easy to get in trouble. And I remember I had my hands in all types of different stuff. But this life is a trip, man, and it seems like you can really do whatever you want in this life if you put your mind to it. Like I'm barely starting to get that. I wish I would have got that when I was younger, but like for anybody out there, you can do anything that you want if you got to have a little belief in yourself, though. Mm-hmm. So what could you tell, any one of you answer this? What could you tell like a young person out there? It doesn't have to be fighting, but just something positive that they could do instead of being out there on the street. Like, how can you get involved in something, Karina?
I think it's easy to be a bad person and it's hard to be a good person, and it's contagious. So I feel like me, I try to be a good role model, example, push hard. I'm a girl, so if I could do it, a man could do it, you could do it. Pass a smile on.
Passing a smile on, that's a big one right there.
Yeah.
And what about you, Mark?
Stay
What
positive.
would you tell a young buck out there? You obviously came out doing some, probably hanging around some wrong dudes at some point or another. All of us have.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, it's hard, especially from certain towns like Porterville, Lindsay. You hear a lot of crazy stuff happening over there. Fresno is crazy too. It's a bigger town, but smaller towns, people hear a lot of stuff. I don't know.
What about your Instagram feed when kids are following you? What did you say earlier?
Nah, that's cool. Yeah, I got a lot of little high schoolers trying to follow me and this and that. They want
Hey,
t-shirts.
man.
He should
and
feel
that.
good.
It's cool.
Like he should set an
cool.
example and.
But it's like I said, I find I like to represent Lindsay. I like to bring my family, my friends. Like I feel like you make bad decisions, you do wrong things. You're not only like bringing yourself down, you're bringing down the people that you represent. You know what I mean? You can't. I don't know. You have to be someone that they're proud to say, "Oh, that's my son. That's this is that." You know what I mean? You don't want to be someone that's down in the gutter that nobody wants to even. That's embarrassed to say they know you or anything. Just I don't know, man. Just think about your family. Think about what you're doing.
A lot of times you guys
really worth it.
You guys don't realize either, man. There's probably way more youngsters out there watching you guys that look up to you. It could be family members or just kids that have heard about you. And like with this podcast, me and Archie were talking about a little while ago. We weren't when we got this podcast going exactly sure what direction we were looking. The people we were looking to get watching it. And we knew we wanted to help MMA fighters and help the Valley, but we're starting to reach out to, there's a lot of younger people looking at us and watching you guys. And man, even if it's just one kid that's looking up to you, like you could honestly make a difference in that kid's life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. And yeah, one thing before we close up tonight, guys, for one, I want to thank you guys for coming on. And what we'll do is kind of hard. What's different for me to do a podcast with all you guys? I would like to get each one of you on here, like singly, as we go. So we're going to be having these podcasts a lot more often. I got to give some thanks out there because the podcast is growing, and the guy who he's responsible for me getting involved with this is Chris Ronquillo and Archie Tovar. Okay, Archie's the producer of the podcast.
Chris got me involved.
Chris got, yeah. It's important though the bloodline here. Chris though, when I had my very first fight up at Eagle Mountain Casino, it was Gladiator Challenge. When I walked out of the cage, Chris was right there, and he was a reporter. He was a media guy right there, and he's the first guy that ever, like, he pulled me aside and he was like, "Hey man," like he was pretty proud, and he was happy for what I had done. And since then, Chris has always kept in contact, and man, I got a lot of thanks for that guy. And Chris, when they started the podcast, he got me into it, and the podcast has gotten me several different things going now. You know what I mean? Some referee jobs, some commentating, a lot of interview work, and it's funny how one person can, you know what I mean? They open up one door and you keep going. But Chris, man, we got to get you back on here. Chris is going through issues like all of us have our little issues, but we love you, Chris, and we got a ton of respect for you, and man, we can't wait to get you back on here. And so Chris Ronquillo, you guys remember that guy? He's been a supporter this whole time, and I mean a long time. Would you like to thank coach, sponsor, anybody, anything like that? Let's start on down with Jared, and thank whoever you'd like, and we'll work our way down.
Well, got to give the glory to God first, and then second, give it to my family, my siblings, my parents, my wife, my daughter, my coaches, like there's so much, but
all right,
everybody.
Those are good people to thank. Karina?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Family, coaches, my gyms, kids, friends, supporters, sponsors. Oh my God, sponsors made this camp so much easier. I'm usually like stressed out, and I don't have a manager, so everything I do is like.
Sometimes that's a good thing.
Oh man, it's heavy though. It's heavy.
It's a heavy
it weighs
load.
heavy on
But
your back.
if you can
doing
get in that
shirts,
cage though.
tickets, corners, all that stuff. Yeah.
All right,
Thank
and you, my brother, you got any sponsors or anything? Yeah, when is your next fight?
Hopefully in a couple months. There's a couple promotions out there that have fights that I can hit up, but we'll see. Hopefully a few months. I'm not trying to wait like a year like I have been in the past.
Yeah.
I just got out of camp and I'm healthy. I just fought like a few weeks ago.
Dude, look at those triceps.
I had a loss, but I
jealous.
trained so hard for it, and I'm ready to get back in there. Trained hard for my last
Awesome.
one. Didn't come out with the win, but.
Oh, that's all right.
Waiting for the next one.
Sometimes a loss is a win, in my opinion. How about you, my brother? You got anybody you would like to thank? Any sponsors or anything like that?
Of course, God and first, and everybody that has shown me love and continue to give me support, and it means a lot because the fight game is a tough game, and we don't get a lot of help, and so when we do, it's very appreciative.
It definitely is. And how about you, my brother? Anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, the man above, my Gramps, mainly my Gramps is one of the biggest ones too. This is one of the main reasons I'm fighting. My dad's one of my main sponsors, you know what I mean? Mark's Audio, best audio installations in the valley. I don't care, yeah.
Mark's Audio.
Mark's Audio.
You heard it right here in
California. Just my coaches, Crew, Nacho, Mo. Getting to work with her is a big pleasure. The sponsors have been helping me a lot with everything, with paying my medicals and just everything on one package. I'm grateful for everything and everyone. Crew, Karina, Jonathan, and they all been a blessing in my journey.
That's awesome, man. We all have something in common here, and all you guys, even your opponents that you're fighting this weekend, when you guys are respectful, when the show's, the fight's set and over with, win or lose, you know what I mean? There's always some respect right there. So we thank the opponents that you guys got coming too. Thanks again to Jeremy Luchow for coming on the show and breaking down the 559 fights. Not easy being a promoter. I know that for sure. It's probably one of the most difficult jobs. I want to thank, before we go, Seth Daniels. He's the promoter for Fight to Win, and he gave me the chance to commentate this weekend, which was, I had a great time. It's been one of the things I've always wanted to do. And MMA Fight Pass, me, Archie, and Chris, we want people to know that we offer referee action, we offer commentating, ring announcing, and like interview work and videotaping, everything to do with that we're offering, because we want to grow our brand. And it's been for you guys, I want to continue to commentate. So any of you fighters that I commentated for this weekend, throw my little thing in here, please post your fight. If you thought the commentating was all right, please post your fight, and it'll help my resume out. You know what I mean? We'll help each other out. You'll get your video and your fight out there, and I'll get my commentary. But yeah, commentary, I can do ring announcing, and I can do refereeing, and like I said, the videotaping and everything. So that's my little plug right there. Yeah, hey man, I love you guys for coming on, and like I said, we'll have you guys on the podcast afterwards. Hopefully after these fights, whatever the outcome is, I can get you guys back on here. And here pretty soon we're gonna have a new studio, guys, and it's really gonna be something else there. And yeah, the guests are gonna be coming a lot more often, and yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So thank you guys again. Appreciate it. It was nice to meet you, sir. Thank you, sis. I met you before. Thank you, my brother. MMA Fight Pass out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll do that backwards. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. All right, man. So that was all over the place, but thank you guys again. Yeah. Did you guys have a hard time finding the place, or was it pretty simple?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys all living around Visalia, or?
Well, I'm from Porterville, so I'm like
You
a
live
good
up in
hour
Porterville?
and 20 minutes
geez.
away, yeah.
Damn, dude.
And then I gotta get him and Lindsay and then Visalia.
You don't train
then
at
from
the
over here.
CVCA over there?
They closed. Now it's Extreme Grappling, and Paul Strada runs it, and
Yeah.
Jim.